Right when I start, my dog wants to come in. Come on in. She likes to be the center of attention. Anyway, hello, everybody. So happy to be here with you. I want to kind of cover 3 general things today about money mindset. And those 3 things are going to be ending this story that exists so deeply in all of us that there's never enough, right? Especially financially. But this doesn't just apply to money. The story of not enoughness is a symptom of a very scarcity-minded society. And so we have to unpack that if you want to really understand your individual experience of finances and your financial hygiene. Second general thing I want to cover is this myth that consuming creates happiness or status is what makes you feel wealthy and abundant, or stuff is what makes you feel better, right? It's just a myth. It's just not what's actually happening in reality. So I want to get back in touch with reality and just kind of do the whole unveiling of what we've been told is true our whole lives. And finally, kind of my experience of what true wealth is. Like everyone else, I used to think wealth was it looked a certain way, right? You had certain things if you were wealthy. But now I understand wealth very differently. It's how you're able to use your own time here on planet Earth, right? The most wealthy I've ever felt is being unattached from someone else controlling my time. I don't know about you, but when I was at my day job, I fucking hated someone else getting to dictate my schedule, any part of my schedule. Even if I got my say in like the hours I wanted to work, I just fucking hated not owning my time. And because I'm so passionate about that, I'm starting to see like that is wealth, not zeros and M's in your bank accounts. That's nice. I'm not saying don't want that. But the far more wealthy experience internally is that you own your time. Another part of true wealth is understanding your options. A scarce, limited money mindset reflects a very scarce, limited thinking mindset, where we think in all or nothing ways, where it's either this or this. And we don't see I can't think of a word, but the unlimited amount of options that we always have available to us. But when our brain lies to us and says, it's this or that, then that's what we're going to see. Hello, I have someone joining. All right. I forgot I did a wait room so that if people keep joining, I'm going to stop. So sorry about that, but welcome. Anyway, so the last thing I want to cover about what true wealth is our emotional regulation. This is the big money piece that we're going to dive into today, because if any part of our subconscious believes that money is what creates our emotions, we're always going to be handing over that aspect of our control, our responsibility to some neutral life, this thing outside of us. So figuring out how to regulate our own emotions and be 100% in control of that, no matter what's going down around you, no matter what your bank accounts reflect to you, no matter what your bills are, no matter what inflation or the recession is doing, that is the ultimate wealth, right? And that can look like anything. There's no box that wealth fits into. Wealth is a state of mind. It's a feeling. So I want to go into all 3 of these things today. And I kind of want to just start by saying we all pick up our money stories and financial habits so early in life. By the time our brain is already fully coded, it closes up shop and it's like, all right, this is what we've got. This is what we're going to keep giving you for the rest of your life. And because they're so habitual and unconscious, they start to just seem like truth, like the way money works. But the good news is our stories, the things we learned as children, are not truth. They're just optional choices, right? And we know that because we see people evolve and change their money mindset. We see people like Oprah, who goes from like no financial momentum behind her to creating all that shit for herself. And there's countless other examples, but I always just go to her because she's so wealthy, right? That's mindset. That's not circumstance that created that for her. And it's definitely not because she kept her stories in her childhood the same. She went through and undid all of that, unraveled all of that. So they're not the truth. They are a choice that you get to make. And you can choose a different money mindset at any time if you're willing to put in the work. And there is work in this process. It's not like just sit back in an armchair and someone does it for you, which is what our brain would prefer. But the work doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be painful. It can be an enjoyable process if you have the right conditions to do this work. So before I was a life coach, I worked in restaurants. I started working in restaurants when I was 17, and I was paid minimum wage and tips. And I worked there all throughout college. I got my degree. I went to school for geology and environmental science, never used that. And I worked past college. I stayed at the restaurant instead of going and getting a corporate career. And so I have never had a consistent income, because switching over to entrepreneur, solopreneur, that's not consistent. It's going to change constantly. It's going to be created based on what I'm doing, right? It's even less consistent than the restaurant was. And so since I've never had a fixed income, I want to talk about that for a second, because when I was younger, I used to just assume that's what I was going to have. Just like everyone else, you get your secure job, you choose your career, and you have a fixed income. I wanted that. I was so excited for that. I was like, oh, I can't wait to have this salary. It's going to be great. It's going to save me from all of my fears around money and security, right? It's just going to come and rescue me, this corporate job. And so I took some time to graduate college because my mental health was awful. And so I started seeing all my friends graduate and get these fixed salaries around me. And I felt really envious of them. I was like, oh, they're so lucky. I assumed that because they now had fixed incomes, that they were somehow safe from feeling negative emotion or feeling fear and feeling insecure in their financial life. And that just wasn't true, right? It's kind of like how we think skinny models are just happy and have perfect lives, when the truth is they're almost more miserable than the average person. The truth is every human being, regardless of circumstance, experiences the same 50-50 of life, the same positive and negative 50-50, right? It doesn't matter who you are, what you have. We all have that experience. So I started to see them get into their careers, and I just freaked out inside. I was freaking out. I was telling myself, I'm so behind, especially financially. Oh my God, it just made me more scared. My anxiety was really bad before I found this work. But now I can look back and see that never having that consistent income available to me and never getting that false sense of security that kind of a fixed salary provides, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, like bar none. Because of all these factors that forced me to deal with my subconscious bullshit, I was able to do something about it, right? Let's say I had gone and gotten that corporate career. I would have been cozy enough to probably never deal with it. But since I was behind, since my mental health was so poor, since I was still on a inconsistent income, and I made that mean so many bad things about myself, I backed myself into a metaphorical corner where the only way out was through. And so I kind of see myself like leading the charge on this way through for other people. Like I went first and it sucked. And I can make it a lot easier for all my clients I take through now because they're not alone. I have all this added awareness and foresight that they don't really have access to when they're in it. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Now I look back and I'm like, of course, I couldn't have had it any different, right? I had to go through every limiting belief and story and fear I had been harboring and hanging on to and believing since my childhood. And because of this, I learned the most invaluable skill that I think there is in life for every human being, no matter who you are, no matter where you live. This skill does not have a price tag. It is so valuable. If it did, it would be like millions and billions, gajillions of dollars. It's so valuable because it's a skill that can't be taken away from me, that can sustain me, that can create security for me, that can create clarity over my decisions, right? That is the most valuable thing. Money can't do that for me. A set limited salary can't do that for me. And so I'm so glad I never got that, because had I been given that, I wouldn't have the skill. I'd be like everyone else, kind of unconscious and terrified and suffering still. Don't get me wrong, I suffered a lot, but not no mo. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So your money, your possessions, your property, any of that could be lost in an instant, right? You could lose it all tomorrow. It could be stolen from you. Something crazy could happen. But the skills you take the time to nurture and develop in your brain are always yours to keep. No one can take that away from you. There's no threat, right? And that's what we're really scared of. We're constantly afraid of a threat. But once you get this skill down of like mental stamina and agility and squeaky clean hygiene, you're not scared of a threat. You're like, try me. And it's kind of a fun, empowering experience, right? Mental and emotional hygiene is what determines your financial hygiene. They are not separate. And so when people are like, oh, well, I can't work on my mental health right now because I don't have the money, what I hear is like, they're just not choosing to prioritize it, right? Because working on the mental is what improves your financial. And so by not taking that risk right now, by saying, okay, this is worth it to work on it right now because my financial is not going to improve unless I improve, because I create my financials, right? It took me a long time to learn that. I was a slow burner. I was like, I want to do it myself. I'll buy a book. Oh, I'll only buy a discounted course. It took me a while to see the reality of this. So if I can fast track that for anyone by just showing you, right, that your financial is not going to improve and spending money on your mental is not going to hinder your financial stability, it's going to improve it, right? If we could just make that fast tracked for other people, that's all I would want. If your mental and emotional health is rock solid, you stop being afraid of the financial hypotheticals that scare you in the night, right? You stop being afraid of grocery prices. You stop being afraid of the markets going up and down and the news stations scaring you, because you have the foundational, most basic skills of regulating your emotions, thinking clearly and in tune with reality, not in the illusion our brain likes to paint for us. And you can make decisions quickly. This is what these mindset skills give to you that improve your money, right? The only thing that can cultivate true wealth is your ability to regulate your feelings. Because to me, wealth is a feeling. It's not a thing you can point at and say, oh, that's it. You don't know what other people are feeling. There are billionaires out there that feel insecure and afraid and awful. That's not wealth. You know what I think wealth is the internal experience you're having as a human. Are you feeling present? Are you feeling peace? Are you feeling reward and fulfillment? Are you allowing in your whole experiences? Are you resisting and running away and afraid and avoiding and having an awful time? That's such a difference. That is wealth to me. Making our internal world a safe and comfortable place is what wealth is. Like everyone else, before I did this money mindset work, I had an egotistical desire to be rich, right? I wanted to have this appearance of rich, and I wanted to have this status, and I wanted the car, and I wanted the big house, right? And I'm not saying I'll never do those things and I'm protesting those things now. I still think it's cool to have a nice car and really expensive things. Like, no judgment here in what I'm saying. But when you actually do this work and start living in the integrity of valuing your emotional regulation over the appearance of what you have or don't have, it starts to really fall away, or at least lessen. It becomes less urgent. There's less of a race to prove yourself. Because when you regulate your emotions, you understand that your worth, what you make things mean, how you feel about yourself, that's all within your power. And you have nothing to prove to other people anymore. You don't care what other people think about you. And you start to enjoy the wealth that you do have. This story falls away that I don't have enough. You just start to see enough everywhere. And not just enough, but like more than enough, like overwhelming gratitude for the meal you have in front of you. It's no longer this like urgency and expectation of I need better. This isn't enough. This isn't good enough. I'm not good enough, right? That's such scarcity thinking. And so our focus becomes so much less I want, I need. And it turns so much more into a place of service, a place of love. How can I lift others up because I already feel so amazing today? That is wealth. That is the human experience we're seeking for. We're just confused when we're looking for it in consumption of things, right? Things aren't bad. We need things sometimes, but when we're over consuming and overspending and kind of just squandering our money habits and hygiene because we're looking for something outside of us that only we can give. It's an inside job. Wealth is an inside job, right? It's a rich and abundant internal experience that opens the door to access an external wealth experience, right? If the mental and emotional skills you have in your brain are scarce and limited, if your thinking patterns are scarce and limited, so will your financial skills be, right? So will your relationship skills be. So will your spirituality be. So will your impact, because those skills or the lack of those skills is what sets the stage and the tone for your entire life. We want to really see that. We want to see how that's true, find evidence for how that's true. My favorite, I'm going to draw because, I'm from like the 90s and 2000s where we used to put a little projector on a table. It looked like this. And then there was like a cloth on the whiteboard and it would project an image. It would be like slides, whatever it was. And so if there was ever like a big smudge on the screen, the thing we need to realize about ourselves is you don't go to that cloth hanging up that's projecting the image to wipe off the smudge, because the smudge is found over here, right? You have to go here to wipe it off, and then it disappears over here. But what human brains automatically do is they're trying to solve their problems right here where they have no control. It's not going to solve anything. They're expending their effort and time and focus and attention, squandering it, right? When they need to go over here to their brain, to their thoughts, to what creates their experience, to what creates the image they see outside of them, that's where we need to clean things up. And so that's what I mean by your financial experience is created right here. So when someone tells me, oh, well, I got to save money, but they're not going to spend time working on their beliefs and their thoughts, I'm like, what your brain is going to do is not save money. What your brain is going to do is repeat the same things it's done since you were a child, right? It doesn't change on its own. What needs to change is the way you think. So we want to understand that most of us have unconscious thinking patterns in relation to money that are super, super negative. When it comes to finances, we mostly just worry and stress. There's never really fun there. There's never ease. There's never this idea that I can work less and have more, right? We're not being told that story. We all have this story that money is hard. Money is evil. Money is stressful. Money is you have to work more and it's painful. And none of that is true, right? But it's all stemming from this core belief that we will never have enough money, past, now, or in the future. And we're also simultaneously telling ourselves we don't know how to make more money. We don't know how to change our situation. We don't know how to get out of this rut. Like all of that is just factual. Like we don't have these miraculous adaptable brains that can learn just about anything if we choose to learn it. That is how our brains work. But when we don't make the conscious choice, like, okay, I'm going to get rid of this money mindset. I'm going to get a new one. I want money to be easy. I want money to be fun now. When we don't make that decision, our brain has to offer us what it knows. If you just deleted it, that would be like schizophrenic. We'd like forget how to function. We can't delete it. We have to replace it. We have to recode it. We have to shift it. And that takes work and time and effort. And so we don't know how to do anything when we tell ourselves we don't know how. And that sounds so simple, but how often are you telling yourself, I don't know, and then just ending the conversation there? What we need is to challenge our brain when it offers us half-assed questions. It's getting away with so much. It's like a lazy teenager. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the trash out. But it's like, is the teenager capable of taking the trash out? Yes. But we just buy it. We say, okay, you don't have to take the trash out. Okay, honey. Instead of like, no, brain, I know you're capable of this. I know we can do it. It won't feel awesome for a little bit, but it's going to be so much more rewarding when the stinky ass trash is not in our face anymore, right? It's going to be so much better after you do it. So we can't see the obviousness of this solution of changing our mind, of deciding what we want while we're caught up in scarcity thinking. That's essentially what a thought error is. It keeps the blatant, life-saving reality and truth away from us, keeps it hidden. Truth, plain sight, it's always right there, but we just go like this because we have so much scarcity thinking bogging us down. And it keeps us trapped in a shitty illusion over here. And that actually costs us money. It costs us time. It costs us options that are available to us. But it also costs us things like happiness and the feeling of wealth and ease and generosity and self-actualization and community-mindedness. It costs all of that too. It's not just you, right? When scarcity thinking happens, anytime, anywhere, it sucks. But when it happens for you financially, it becomes impossible to focus and care about our mental and emotional needs, right? Because that's kind of a primitive basic need. Money is tied to food and shelter and security. And if our money story is insecure, our basic primitive needs are also insecure. And so we don't have the energy or effort to care about our mental because even though it's not true, even though we have a full pantry, we're having the experience that we might die tomorrow. We might run out of everything because we don't have enough. Whatever your brain tells you, it will believe, whether it's true or not in reality. We could have 6 figures in the bank, but if your subconscious mind is terrified that you don't have enough, that is what your experience will be. You might as well just be sleeping outside on the sidewalk because that's the experiencing you're creating for yourself in that moment, no matter what is in your bank account. Isn't that fascinating? And that's how we know the outside world does not create our inside experience. We want to notice how money kind of comes with this story of like a threat or an attack. And we really perceive it that way. And that's just because we have this old story passed down to us where there was imminent threat, there was danger, there was war, there was not enough food, there was the Great Depression, right? We are direct descendants of that very recent happening. So we're still living in the threat. We're still perceiving the attack, even though it's not real. Even though if we looked around, we'd see that there's more than enough. Financial insecurity is so disempowering, and it affects more than just our ability to earn and steward our money. It affects our overall confidence in all areas of our life, in our relationships, and our ability to function independently as a human, right? We're not codependent on someone providing for us. We have that security of knowing, I got this no matter what, I've got me. And if you're a woman, right, just think about this. For centuries, women have been forced into financial insecurity against their will because society wasn't set up to allow them to have financial independence. They couldn't have bank accounts. They couldn't own property. They couldn't start businesses, right? Up until very recently, I'm a geological thinker, so this is very recent history, y'all. Like, that's my mom's generation. My grandma never saw it. So that's just fascinating, right? Of course your money story is so shitty. That's not your fault. Let's look at the bigger picture. It's actually a really terrifying reality we're coming out of. So it makes sense why we're kind of hesitant to work on it, because these used to be imminent dangers and threats. And we still feel it. We can still kind of sense it in the air around us. But still we rise, right? Look where we are now. I have my own business. I'm very thankful for that. I wake up and I'm like, this is so fucking awesome, right? We don't live in those times physically anymore, but mentally and emotionally, it might as well be 1879, because that's where we're living. That's the experience we're still having. When we don't change our story about money, we don't change our experience, no matter what our circumstances are. Nothing will come and save us from making that change ourselves. It's hard to not feel confident or secure in your financial situation, but that's not because money is some actually objectively hard and confusing thing, because it's not. It's very simple. It's because by staying unconscious about the truth and looking at the real objective truth, you make it harder on yourself unnecessarily, right? When you make that choice to stay unconscious, to recycle old tired stories from the 1800s. Scarcity thinking around money, choosing to feel stressed out about anything that's important to you, doesn't ever create the preservation of that resource like we like to think it does. Think about that. When you feel stressed about something, does that help or does that make it worse? Our brain thinks stress is a useful response, but it ain't. People are like, oh, I got to go stress out about my money. And I'm like, well, no, you don't, but your choice, right? You get to pick your reality here. If we could just notice how stress is a choice and it's never useful, if that's the only thing you walk away with today, I will have won. Stress actually puts us at a greater risk of loss. And not just sometimes, 100% of the time. Because when we're stressed, we aren't thinking clearly. We aren't able to see the reality in front of us. When emotions are high, our intelligence is low, right? Our problem solving is low. Our clarity, our intuition, our connection to self is non-existent. And that's where our irrational financial hygienes come in hot. They thrive there. We overconsume, we overspend, we just throw money away that's never going to give us a return, when there are so many things available to us that we could put just a little money in and they would give us life-saving returns. But when our stress is so high, we don't see that. Then we just look like a bunch of asshats, right? Because we're choosing stress. We're believing our brain when it's like, let's do this. This is really useful. It's not useful. We're feeling so stressed out and insecure to begin with. So we think consuming more things will take away that feeling. And it kind of does release some dopamine, and it temporarily gets you a little spike of a high, but it's so temporary. And it just, like a dopamine feedback loop, it requires more consumption the next time if you want to feel that same level of dopamine. It's an artificial experience. It's fucked up, right? It ultimately ends up creating more discomfort in the long run, more insecurity in the long run, because you're using the money you do have in such frivolous and unconscious ways, right? Blowing it on clothes. I like clothes, and I like nice clothes too. I'm not even like, I don't want to go shop at the Chinese online stores that are like $5 for, that's not what I'm advocating for. But when you're trying to feed an empty pit of stress inside of you with little doses of artificial dopamine, that's frivolous, right? This thought error keeps us trapped in a pattern of finding evidence of our not enoughness financially. And then it reconfirms our old scarce money stories subconsciously, just feeds that belief. You are choosing your beliefs every day, and you're feeding the ones you want, watering the ones you want. And that's what we're doing when we're not paying attention. We're feeding our not enoughness. And so then eventually, when we're just confirming for ourselves and finding that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy in this, we're like, see, it's true. I told you I don't have enough. I knew it. I told you I don't know how. But that cycle is what keeps you playing the victim in your own life, right? What value do you get from that? What do you gain? It's what keeps us waiting for someone else to come save us, play the hero in our lives. Because it's not us, right? Because we're not enough. But you are enough. You aren't ever going to create what you want or feel how you want while you're pretending to be the victim in your life. You're not. You're the hero. There are so many people who have the same exact financial situations, and some people remain the victim in their stories, and some people decide to stop playing that card, stop making excuses, and they choose to take ownership and responsibility over all of it so they can get themselves out, right? They break out of that scarcity mindset because they're willing to stop and make the unconscious so very conscious that it can't hold them back anymore. And that's what I did for myself. If you never slow down enough to make the subconscious conscious, then you will continue to just play out, reinforce these fears, victimize yourself unknowingly, and say, I don't know. I don't have enough, until you die. I finally took the time to slow down, stop the madness, stop telling myself I'm behind, stop comparing myself to others, come to a complete halt, and really take a look at things. I looked at my money mindset. I told myself the truth about what was really causing my feelings, even though my brain didn't like that, right? I told myself that I'm creating my financial results 100%. It was me. Those are things I control. I took the time to figure out how to take full responsibility for the future of my financial situation. And I didn't leave any room for blame, self-pity, or result entitlement. I said, this is on me. I'm going to take charge. I am the hero here, right? So I decided on the financial future that I wanted to have. And I committed to creating it with these skills, with these mental and emotional skills, because they are all you need to create any amount of financial situation you want to create. It's that simple. But that commitment to your decision means no matter how uncomfortable it gets, no matter how much fear I have to face and process, right? No matter how many shitty stories I've got to work through and unravel, no matter how many times I fail in the process or I'm told no, no matter how bad I suck at something in the beginning, No matter what obstacles are going to appear in front of me on this journey, I am committed to this decision. I'm committed to the financial future that I want. Right? That's what an unmanaged mind does, is it quits. It gets a little uncomfortable and it bails. It runs away. It hears no, and it makes that mean, oh, I suck. I'm not enough. An unmanaged mind is unruly. It's going to sabotage your time. But a managed mind knows that you don't take back what you said you were going to do. You keep going forward. You don't say, never mind, this is hard. Because there are no more shitty victim stories in a managed mind. There's just devotion to the truth and strengthening the skills that will develop any future result you want. That is the skill. Knowing you can create any result you want when you have tools like the model, like emotional adulthood, like the manual, right? Like clean versus dirty pain. These are all the lessons that are in my one-on-one coaching program that I give to my clients. Can you see how your mental and emotional skills are far more valuable than money itself? Put a stack of money sitting on the table in front of you. What does it do for you? It's an inanimate object. But the skills you have in your brain that are controlling your experience, those are far more valuable. Money is entirely neutral. You can always create more of it. It's the same as anything else that goes in our circumstance line. That could be like a sausage or a doorknob, right? But since money is also a tool and it's kind of a vital resource to function in our daily lives, right? We don't need sausages to fuel our car tanks. We can have them, but we don't need them. We want to clean up our stories about money. If you have issues with doorknobs or some shit that happened in your past who cares if you work on it or if you don't work on it, right? You can stay hating doorknobs for the rest of your life, and that's your business, right? But by choosing to not work on your money story, that costs you. By choosing to recycle and hang on to the shitty money story you have, you can't buy back the time you're wasting in that stress. You can't buy back the time you're spending stuck and frustrated and blaming people. But what you can do is always create more money later on, right? That's what I've learned. I've made some big investments this year that I'm just like so much less scared than I was making a half the size investment last year. I was so scared making my first few investments because I didn't really believe this yet, that you could just make more money. But now I'm like, oh, done. Triple the amount I spent last year, done. I can make more money. And I really believe that because I trust in my mental and emotional skills. But when you're choosing stress over trust, over clarity, you never get to find out who you really are, what kind of decisions you make outside of stress and worry. That's so lame. Because you could have a brain that could easily create millions of dollars in revenue, that could create so much value for the world, for your community, and you don't even realize it because you're depriving yourself from that possibility. And it's all because your brain doesn't like to get uncomfortable, doesn't like to have uncomfortable feelings in your body, a sensation in your body. That is what's stopping you from changing this, from shifting your money mindset requirement. It literally is this process of slowing down and looking at your thoughts. It's as simple as I can put it. That's what your brain wants to avoid. That's it. Do you see how harmless that is? But to your brain, it's like, no, this is death. Let's stay stressed out. And it just makes you more stressed out, right? You aren't just hurting yourself by depriving yourself of this work. You're hurting all the people you could be helping and serving around you. By keeping your thoughts the same old, never undoing them, never investigating further, it doesn't matter what will change outside of you along the way. You could win the lottery, you could get a sugar mama, get a promotion. You'll still never solve the feeling aspect inside of you, the stress that builds up inside of you. Money can't do that for you. Money can't change your thoughts. Only you can, right? We can't notice what's going on in our mind when we're so stressed out or constantly judging our current situation. We're so blocked from our access to awareness when we approach ourselves through a shaming and disempowered lens. We can't embody our power and control while we feel totally powerless and inadequate. We can't even see that we have it. It's not real. And when we feel powerless and inadequate financially, we like to blame money for that, blame our circumstances for that, blame our past for that. But we are the ones creating that experience right now. We are making that choice. The way to feel more powerful over our emotions and thoughts, and ultimately over our money mindset, is to start building that awareness right now, noticing everything we can. Doing that from a place of curiosity and compassion, and not from a place of pathologizing your experience, making yourself feel like you're broken, because you're not. Right? You're not a problem to be solved, and neither is your money mindset. Your humanity is gorgeous and lovable and worthy. And your current financial situation does not define you. You are not the neutral circumstances in your life. You are the thoughts you're believing about yourself right now. Nothing more, nothing less. So what are those thoughts? As we are right now is already perfectly enough. However, whenever we tell ourselves, I don't have enough, we're really saying, I am not enough, me as a person. We need to look closer at that. Because if we don't, we're going to keep finding evidence everywhere we look for how that's true. That happened? Yeah, that confirms I'm not enough. Ah, that happened? Oh, look at that number. Yep, still don't have enough, right? We miss out on a far lovelier human experience whenever we move forward without questioning these thoughts. Whenever we're in too much of a hurry to get there, right? Someplace made up, someplace richer, someplace where everything just falls into our lap, we aren't seeing the truth in front of us. We aren't seeing our power. We're lying to ourselves in a very harmful way. It makes our experience suck. We can only enter into true wealth, right? That state of mind and awareness when we aren't fighting and arguing with what's right in front of us, right? Our current financial situation, our current circumstances around us. When we fully see that there's nothing to prove here, we don't even have to change anything or diagnose anything about where we are, then we can understand the enoughness that's available to us right here. And that's the only way to create more sense of enoughness in the future, is to see it right now. Because all that's in front of you is a human being that wants to be understood and loved. That is wealth. Wealth is being understood and loved. And you are that human being, right? You are the one that wants to feel understood and loved by yourself. People could come by all day and be like, I understand you. I love you. I understand you. I love you. Hey, you, I understand you and I love you. They could be doing it all day long. But if you don't understand and love yourself, you're not registering. You're not feeling that experience because you can't, because you're only in charge of your experience. Those people coming by telling you they love you, they're not in charge of how you feel. They can't regulate your thoughts and emotions. That is your responsibility. It's the most important responsibility you have in your life. It's far more important than paying your bills on time, paying off your credit cards or student loans. Your responsibility is controlling how you think and feel. Like your life depends on it, like your money depends on it, because it does. That's why I want to communicate how urgent it is to prioritize this, right? over the urgency of you wanting approval from someplace in the future where you have more things. That's not what you want. You want this feeling that you have access to right now when you start developing these skills, right? Don't fall into the trap of thinking more money is what will create safety, security, and fulfillment in your life. That's the trap I lived in, that most of us are living in. And it's a journey out of it. I had a hard time finding truth that it's not what made me feel secure. I'm like, nah, I'm pretty sure money is what makes me feel secure. Thank you. I think I'll keep it. But I kind of had to burn myself to the ground to really start to see that it's not. Money can become obsolete tomorrow. We have no idea. We can't base our well-being on the fluctuations of a number, a digital number in the account, right? A plastic card. You create safety and security. You can do that by managing your thoughts and emotions more consciously, right? So much of what's going on for you is subconscious, and it's my job to pluck that out of there and take a look at it with you. So I want to give you the 3 takeaway money mindset requirements that we've kind of covered, and I'll just leave you with that. First, your unconscious money beliefs hold you back from creating the wealth you want. That's it. Unconscious money beliefs hold you back from creating the wealth or the financial situation that you want. It's not your actual financial situation or your job or your boss or the money you had to spend on your heater that hold you back. Please hear me say that, right? It's not the new car you had to buy or the deck you want to build or the vacation you want to go on that's holding you back financially. It's the unconscious money beliefs that are holding you back. And just notice the wealth you want, you think you're going to find in that new car. You think you're going to find on that vacation, and you're not. It's not going to be there. You're going to get there and you're going to be disappointed. The wealth you want to find is in working on these beliefs, reworking them to prove to yourself, I got you. I trust you. I have your back fiercely. I know how to regulate my emotions. I know how to protect myself. That is the wealth you want. Remember, it's a feeling, not a place. A state of mind, not a status that the world grants you if you're good enough, right? That's not real. You're already good enough. Your circumstances are not what holds you back financially. Ever, 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 ever. There's always a way. If you really want wealth, you'll prioritize this work, right? Your thoughts. I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm tired today. I just automatically start talking about thoughts when I'm not paying attention. Okay. What I was going to say is you can have access to that place as soon as you're willing to do this work, get uncomfortable, slow down, investigate your thinking. And if you're not willing to do that on your own, come to me. Second, money does not create your feelings. It does not create your actions or your results. You create all of that with the beliefs you're choosing to curate and practice today. I want you to hear the urgency in that, right? There is urgency to this in a sense, because what you're choosing right now, today, is creating what's coming up for you. We like to think our urgency is getting somewhere in the future, but really it's happening right now in this moment. So don't keep blaming money for where you're at in life right now. Don't blame your past, right? Money has no say over what happens in your brain. That is your wheelhouse. It's like blaming an inanimate sausage for the charges on your credit card. It makes no sense. It leaves you powerless and playing a victim, and you are not powerless. Finally, third, you cannot buy back the time you're choosing to spend worried, stressed, and scared about your financial situation. This is valuable time, precious time, and it's not the things around you that you want to change. It's this projector you want to change. I promise you. You could have terrible financial situations and feel liberated and free and abundant, right? This isn't what you want to change. This is what you want to change, okay? You can always start developing the mental and emotional skills that will change this, right? That will alleviate the stress and worry and fear from your life by doing this. So I have so much more to say about money and all the magical ways my money mindset has transformed these last few years. And I definitely will talk more about it for sure, but that's what I'm leaving you with today. Please know, please don't hear in anything I'm saying that this is easy. Here's a simple shortcut to being rich. This is hard work, but it is worthy work. It is rewarding work. It gets uncomfortable, but you are capable of getting uncomfortable and surviving that. You are worthy of proving to yourself that you are trusted. You are reliable. You can steward your own mind and your own financial life in an incredible way that probably looks different than what you've experienced in your past, right? Once you have your own back mentally and emotionally, this financial aspect will unfold with ease. It'll start feeling better immediately. Whatever you've been telling yourself has to happen before your experience and mindset with money is going to change is probably a big fat thought error. Okay. It's probably a brain hiccup. It's probably a lie. So just notice if you've been feeling lots of stress around your money, if you can't seem to trust your financial situation to be safe and secure enough for you right now, I can help you change that. I'm not saying I can help you make six figures, right? That's not what I'm saying, but I can help you change your experience of it, and that will change your decisions moving forward. It will shift the trajectory of your life when you fix this projector. Okay, that is what I can help you with. I can help you sink in a new set of beliefs around money and show you how to practice them until they become your new automatic state. You won't even have to work at it anymore, right? Our brain likes to get into the subconscious, but we always want to be diving in there and making sure we like what it's producing. So if you're ready to start developing these invaluable skills, that's exactly what my one-on-one coaching program gives you. 24 weeks, which is 24 one-on-one coaching sessions with me. There's a lesson included every single week to help you manage your brain, have your own back, and feel way more empowered, not just financially, everywhere in your life. You can't do this work and not see the tangible transformations outside of you. But remember, we don't even really care about the ones outside. We care about the ones that are going to happen inside. We care about your experience. We care about what you're feeling. This is what we are all looking for. Every human. I know it. I'm very autistic, and I've already solved the puzzle of humanity at 31 years of age. You are looking for a different internal experience, and I can help you access that. So if you want to come work with me, you are invited to go book a free consult. You go to my website, aliciaturnercoaching.com, click the free consult button, schedule your call. There's a acuity scheduler that will pull right up for you. I send you a Zoom link the day before we meet. So depending how far out you book that Zoom link will come the day before. It will also be a nice little reminder like, hey, you got a consult tomorrow. And all you have to do is show up at the time you chose, click that link, and here my face will be right here. We're going to hang out. The process is really simple. We're just going to talk about where you are, where you want to be. And then I definitely want to get into any questions, doubts, or scarcity stories you might have around signing up for coaching. Because I know I've had so many clients come to me and be like, man, why did I take so long to sign up for this? And so on that call, I want to talk about what's stopping you from signing up, right? Because it might be a yes, it might be a no, but I want to make sure you love your yes and you love your no. Okay. I don't want any lies floating around in your brain saying, oh, I can't afford it, because you can, right? You absolutely can. And it's normal to have these doubts. It's normal to not want to invest in something like this because your brain does not want to change, right? Your brain wants to choose stress. Ironically enough, it likes it better because it's used to it. It's familiar with it. So on that consult, we can even do a little taste of coaching. That happens sometimes where you can just see how transformational it is to do this process, right? Get a little taste of that relief, and then your brain will be like, okay, maybe I'm willing to consider, okay? I am pretty booked up with clients at the moment, but I still want to take on a handful of new clients in December because it's the most wonderful time to be miserable. So many people are miserable this year, especially with all the consumerism just fucking wreaking havoc in our minds, right? I know there are people out there that could benefit from this work. in this season. You are who I want to help. So go book that consult. Don't let scarcity be the thing that keeps you from experiencing this shift, right? I promise. I love you. It's safe. It's fun to hang out with me. I'm a good teacher, and I make it a very loving space. So let's do it. I've got you. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.